Okay, I'd like to call the Board of Commissioners meeting to order, please. Ask you all to rise. We'll have a pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome everybody to the Board of Commissioners meeting for February 7th. As you see, we're full staffed again. Welcome, Woody, for being the newly appointed commissioner. And it isn't often that you get elected as a commissioner and then a couple meetings later, all of a sudden you got some seniority. So,
yes,
you know, Stan's really rolling. So anyhow, let's do the roll call, please.
Gross.
Present.
Fair.
Present.
Ziegler. Present. Sykes.
Present.
Overmeyer.
Present. Open meetings law is posted on the south side of our chambers, on our website, also in the hallway outside of our chambers. The publication was in the York News Times February 2nd. It is also posted on our website. Next, we need to review and approve the minutes of the January 24th Board of Commissioner meeting.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Gross.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Fair.
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, we also need to adopt today's agenda.
I move to approve the minutes or the agenda. I move approve agenda. Approve the agenda.
Do you have somebody here that would have?
Are you seconding?
Sure. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Fair.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
And Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, next up, we'll do the officials forum. A couple of you here. I don't know, you're just here visiting? Okay, great.
Good morning,
Harv.
everyone. Just a quick update, the bridge on Road 20, the west one has been removed. They're just getting ready to build the coffer dam to put the west pier in. They've still got the abutments to finish taking out on that one. The one on Road O, Sachs Lake, they are moving in, building the access around it so they can get to both sides. They will start tearing that out either toward the end of this week or the first of next week for sure. We'll take that bridge out. Other than that, we're still hauling gravel into the county, stockpiling it, and trying to keep the roads as smooth as we can in the conditions we have. That's
Road O,
about
is it
that.
blocked off then? Is it currently?
They put the signs up yesterday. We put the detour signs out there so people can get used to traveling around that bridge. So
Okay.
technically, I think with their signs up, it's supposed to be closed, but I don't know if they put the barricades clear across it. I have not been down there.
Okay.
So
Anybody have any questions of Harv this morning? I'm sure we'll have more to talk about in the next hour or so.
yes.
Okay, thanks, Harv. Chris?
Chris Johnson, I'm here in my capacity as zoning administrator. We have a zoning meeting that is preliminarily planned for February 20th at 7 p.m. I'm still waiting on confirmation that we are in fact going to have a quorum. The intent would be to hold it here in the commissioners meeting, in the commissioners hall if at all possible. If necessary, we could always go downstairs, but that has to be finalized. This is the first planning meeting that we will have had since I have been zoning administrator, so I'm still working some of the kinks out, redeveloping some of the, I'll say, lost documents that we had from my predecessor. So the hope is that that is going to be published later this week with a final location and everything like that. We will have a couple of variances that we're going to be potentially looking at, as well as regulations or proposed regulations involving solar, wind, and carbon pipelines.
How close to a quorum are you? Do you have a quorum?
I have a preliminary, let me check and make sure, which would give us a quorum. So, waiting on that.
Okay, hopefully that happens.
Yes, because it needs to happen. It definitely should have happened a couple of months ago, and that is on me. So ultimately, we're hoping that February 20th in the evening at 7 p.m. is going to work for everybody, and we'll be able to get it done.
It would be my assumption that we just go ahead and plan on downstairs. I cannot imagine, you know, when we had our initial, which is last April, you know, what do you say, we had 60
Yeah, at
people
least,
there?
yeah.
You know, and downstairs may not be big enough.
Then if that is the case,
I can't imagine it being any smaller,
Right.
especially if you're talking about adding a couple variances
right,
to it, which is gonna, you know, add to it also.
Right.
At that time, we had utilized the event center at the fairgrounds, and I'm guessing that would probably be a good safety, or maybe even be a good.
maybe
place
the
to start.
primary plan would be better for that.
Might check to see if it's available.
I'll take a look.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions of Chris this
I
morning?
think that's good.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Any other official? Nothing, Josh? Okay. We'll go on to public forum. Anybody would like to speak at this time, they can for a couple minutes on something that's not on the agenda. Come on up. Name and address, if you would, please, for the record.
Robert Soderholm, South 13th Street. You're probably familiar with that. It's become a detour that probably didn't have to go that way. Would have been a lot simpler if they could put a sign out there by the sign on the highway that says Lincoln Avenue, second right, and the people coming, especially those that don't know, aren't from the community. And so I'm a quarter mile from the road that they have blocked now to take out the bridge. Okay? And so I talked to Randy a little bit yesterday morning. But anyway, and I talked to the engineer yesterday too. And, but he has nothing to do with the road signs where they're blocking stuff. And so they ended up putting a sign down the hill on Road M, if you're familiar with it, that goes into South Blackburn. Down over the hill, so you're not gonna see that that's blocked until you get over that hill. Then they put another one that there was road construction, the next one said road, closed ahead. And then the one they put right by my corner, the dead end that goes into the old dump, they put open for through traffic only. So the workers that are gonna be there. So it's still open a little bit. Well, they got all that set up. Detour started at 1:45 in the first hour. Luckily for me, and it's not, the roads aren't dirty right now, because they're a little bit moist, but there's still dirt coming up. And that road doesn't have much gravel on it ever. But anyway, because it gets a lot of dirt traffic. But, so it's blowing out of the north, so that was good, because the first hour, you had 41 vehicles go by. The second hour, you had 52. I was working in my building, so I was missing some, but I was tallying. The third hour, there was 82. The fourth hour, there was 63. So that's 238 in 4 hours you had going across there. That was the ones that went through. There was 4 that turned around in Doug's Drive. There was 9 that went through there at 5 miles an hour because they didn't want to be on the road. There was 14 that turned around at the corner and went back. And then there was 14 that actually went through that barricade at the corner and went down and turned around at the substation. And then went back. And then most of them didn't go through the gravel, they went back over the road. So I think, in my mind, a simple solution would be to let those people, especially the out-of-town people, and you've got all these different activities that are going on at the college, at the high school, the middle school, it'll be at the ballpark, it'll be at East Hill Park for the next 6 months. And so, 90% of the time the wind blows out of the south. And if it would have been blown out of the south, you wouldn't have seen my house yesterday. I'm the only one on the north side, and I'm next to the road. Everybody on the south side is way off the road. And so, I don't know what else to say. But there was basically no planning on that route. All they had in the paper was go this way. And so I figured out there was about 1,000 wasted miles just yesterday between when they started and 9 o'clock last night. You have to brake 5 times going around that way to end up at the south end of South Grant by Casey's, where if you could come right off of Highway 81, take the curve in, you're 100 feet from that same spot. A bunch of wasted distance and wasted braking. Okay, I'm done. I don't know if anything else changed, probably not, but at least you know my mind.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Anybody else public forum this morning? Seeing none, we'll continue on. We're gonna take an executive session, but it's gonna be towards the end of the meeting as to not to disrupt the meeting today. There is no discuss and act on general assistance cases. Review and approve the payroll and vendor claims. Everybody should have an opportunity to look through those. I don't know if anybody had any questions that were already answered or need to be answered. If there was no additional claims for their killing.
I think mostly straightforward claims this time. There was a couple, I talked to Harvey about some computers and printers that were on here for the department out there. Other than that, I think everything was pretty clear. I would make a motion that we approve the payroll and vendor claims as presented.
Thank you, sir.
I second
Thanks, Stan. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Coates,
Yes.
Bear,
it. Yes.
Figler, Sykes,
Yes.
Livermore.
Yes, okay, there is no funding transfers required at this time. Next, we would meet with a representative from Zell HR. They're standing in the hallway, okay. Come on in.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
We would ask you to name and address for those that are going to speak to us today, if you would, please, for the record.
My name is Chad Beast, 6820 Shadow Ridge, Lincoln, Nebraska, with Zell HR Solutions.
And I'm Stephanie Ledbetter, 6701 Vanderslice Circle in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay. Floor is yours.
Well, we're just excited to be here. We had a chance to connect with many of you at the NACO conference and, get a chance to talk about how we could potentially help York County out with your HR needs. We have a chance to work with a number of counties, and we're going to be having an office in Oglala with NACO in 2024, so we're really excited about that, to expand our work with counties. It's become something that we really enjoy. It's taken us a couple of years to understand the dynamics of the inner workings of the county, but we understand and really like it. We've had a chance to make a really big impact with a number of the counties that we serve. So we're hoping today that York County could potentially be a county we had a chance to work with and do some really cool initiatives with all of you.
Okay.
So the way that we serve counties is really dependent on the county and what specifically the county needs. We usually work very closely with the county clerk to determine what does that person really enjoy about the HR functions that the role serves, but what are the things that maybe that role doesn't quite get to touch as much that the board feels would be really important. There's a lot of employee engagement that we do, a lot of employee relations work that we do with the counties, working with the supervisor of each area to work through, we maybe have someone who's not performing to the expectations of the job and we need to do some more training, or we have a situation where we have an employee who, maybe there's some behavior challenges with that person and we need to help them understand what those expectations are so that we can help them be great in their roles. So there's some of those more traditional sides of HR that we help with, and then there's some more what we would consider to be non-traditional HR aspects that we really help with, from culture and engagement. We really work with all of the counties that we serve to make that county the best place to work in that area. And that's kind of the challenge I think that counties are facing. You know, there's a lot of competition in all of the communities that our clients are in. And in York, you have some great competition right across the street too. So I think that there's some opportunity maybe to help in that way as well. So really it's all encompassed from an HR perspective in what we do. And we do a lot of, compliance work as well. So reviewing the handbook and making sure that that's in line, ensuring that as things continue to change, there's a lot of things coming down the pipeline from the federal government. There's been some changes from the state perspective. And so we make sure that all of those things are in line and that you are functioning in the most compliant capacity that you possibly can be. So from the relationships that we have, that's a big part of our business, is making sure that everyone that works at the county knows us. And they really know us, not necessarily as this like, well, this is just, Steph from Zell. It's really, well, that's Steph, and I know her. I have a relationship with her. I can call her anytime and, with questions and things like that. So that's a lot of what we do from that HR perspective. But again, a lot of it is really dictated by what's most important to you all. Where are things that you feel if you were to create, this is what we want the county HR to look like, then how can we make that happen for you? It's not a cut and paste one size fits all. So we have a great relationship with NACO. We have a lot of counties that we serve in different capacities, but at the end of the day, everyone's different. And so we really take that approach when we're working with the board, when we're working with the different departments, and ensuring that, the sheriff's department is very different than the roads department, which is very different than the treasurer's office, and all of those different areas. So it's important that we take that approach when we're helping to navigate those HR situations.
Yeah, I think what's really important about us is that you have a weekly presence with us here. There's not a day that goes by if we're working with the county that we're not engaged with that county.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I work with one county particularly, and I'm on the phone every single day with someone from the roads department, the foreman that I connect with, or the superintendent. We're doing a lot of recruiting for graders or dump truck drivers or whatever that is, and how to make sure that we're hiring the best people, asking the right questions to hopefully understand where we know we're hiring the best people. And I think what's really important too is that at the end of the day, if we ever get the opportunity to work with you, that we're going to help create so many processes, procedures that are going to, if we were to run off in the sunset, that York County is in a much better place than it was before. One of the counties told us we're working with, we don't want to be just a great county, we want to be the best place to work in town. And it was really impactful for us to hear that why not? Why can't a county be the best place to work in town? And we are your full service HR. The only thing we don't do is process payroll. And we can help you dream of things you want to get done too. Maybe you've done some of these things already. Some of the things we've done a lot of lately are compensation studies, helping counties create the compensation grid. It's been a really important thing the last 3 years as hourly wages have increased significantly. We do a ton of recruiting like I referenced, so we can help create a different recruiting structure, and that all funneled through us. We make it really easy for all the elected officials, to hire and more people, create a bigger funnel and better fits for the county. And like Steph mentioned, if there's MLA workers' comp, we just hand those things off. But we become ingrained in the culture here, and so we're not seen, as Steph referenced, and as Zell, we're known as an employee of the county. That's really been impactful for us.
I think the other thing that I would add from the compensation perspective is that NACO has some great resources, right? That all of the counties use to determine compensation for the positions, which is a great place to start. But I think the challenge is that that's not a comparative to other things going on in the York community. What's Cornerstone Bank paying for a personal banker? What are some of these other places paying in town that we need to be aware of? Because there's some balance there that we need to make sure we're competitive, not necessarily only in the county government market, but in the York market. What does that look like? And then also in the surrounding communities. I know there's a lot of people that drive in to work in York. And so, what are we considering there that we can include in some of the data points that the NACO survey provides, but what else do we need to consider when we're looking at that too, so.
And I think people understanding too that it's not just, hey, it's the total compensation too that you get.
Yes.
Counties usually have pretty good insurance. If you ever want that reviewed, we do that a lot with our counties we work with to make sure we have the best benefits we can have for our employees. You know, maybe, but let's make sure. Let's make sure our broker is doing their best job for us. You know, let's go through an RFP process just to make sure that we're giving our employees the best benefits they can possibly have.
So that's an overview of us.
Okay.
And what we do.
I know I got a couple questions. Anybody have any questions?
I've got a couple here, but
I guess I didn't make it to the annual meeting this year, but I have seen you guys before. What's your outfit? I mean, how many people? You're talking about counties. You know, we feel here that we're right on the verge of, do we have one or don't we have one with a little over 100 employees?
Yeah.
How stretched are you guys? I mean, do you have a staff of, is it just you two?
No.
It's 25 people.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're from, what's the farthest south one we have? Like just Dakota County to Sioux County and Harrison would be the stretch we have.
Okay. And the counties you service, are they typically smaller than us? Do you have a mix of larger counties? You know, we're in that middle range. There's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of them in this state that are a lot smaller than us.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can see where they would obviously benefit from that a little bit. But
Yeah.
is it a mix, or do you have some of the larger counties
We
too?
have some of the larger counties too. So, you know, Platte County would be one we've been with for a long time. That would be, you know, a little
Larger.
bit bigger.
Right.
And then we do work with Lancaster County. We've been working with them for 5 years on many different initiatives, but not on a retained basis where we
Yeah.
are their HR. They have, you know, a substantial HR team,
I
but they
would
bring us
say,
in for
like, Kimball County would be a smaller
Madison's
county.
a little smaller.
a
We
little
have,
smaller.
we have smaller ones like Sioux County that are
Sure.
really small. Banner County, really small.
Yeah.
And do you do it on a contractual basis then? Is that how you guys
We
operate?
do.
You come in and evaluate
Yep.
what the needs may be, or we tell you what our needs are, and then you come up with a contract and we pay that on an annual basis?
Yeah. So, yep, usually it's a 12-month contract, and then
Okay.
the great thing about that 12 months is we say, hey, we're gonna do our best in this 12 months, and we hope at the end of the day, worst case scenario, we come in and go through all the files in HR to make sure everything is really good.
Yeah.
And then if you decide like, hey, you know, you guys did your job and we did all these things and you're gonna move on, okay, great. It usually doesn't happen. But we wanna make sure at the end of that 12 months and every single week and month, you get to see what we're doing. But typically, yes, it's on a contractual basis like that, and you get all of us.
Yeah.
So there's nothing we can't do. It's just everything we do, you're going to get. And then as we get to sit down with the commissioners, you know, we get to figure out initiatives that might be exciting for you to consider for us to tackle. So you say, hey, can you guys do this? And we'll say yes. We're good HR people about saying yes to things. Like
Okay.
HR professionals are good about saying, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
We're like, well, is it illegal? No. Well, then let's do it. Let's get it done. Because we want to make sure you get to see the value that we're offering. And the great thing is, you know, while we like to say you're getting, you know, a team of people versus just one, and we can do more than just one person can. Because you have people that specialize in compliance, you have people that specialize in recruiting, you have people that specialize in employee relations, and you know, you have your designated HR professionals here too. You have a team supporting them too, so much work's getting done by multiple people to serve your county.
I think the other thing I would add to that, Randy, is that sometimes people will say to us, well, I kind of know HR, but like I don't know what I don't know. And so when we initiate or start that partnership with you all, hopefully, we sit down and we say, okay, what are you currently doing? What's your dream list? But we're also going to say, are you doing this? Are you doing this? What about this? Here's a new and different way you could do this process or procedure. And so we really take a different approach rather than just like listening to what you all want and saying, you know, yeah, we can do all of those things. We take it a step further and we really drive that process to make sure that you are truly doing the best possible things in HR and you're executing at a high level in that. And that's been really a great thing we've been able to bring to counties and truly alleviating a lot of what the clerk has on their plate with some of those HR pieces, because you don't know how many FMLA situations you're going to have in a week or in a year, or work comp or unemployment claims. You know, those are kind of the one-off things that can feel like a lot when you're not anticipating you know, how many you'll have. And so we help navigate all of those situations, which can get kind of hairy sometimes. And so that's really important, what we have heard from the clerk role, to have that support. So yeah, there's a lot of those different aspects.
And if the HR person that says anything for York County is ever gone, there's always another person people know. So we literally, there's never a time you won't get a hold of somebody. Everybody has our cell phones, so they get a hold of us. And then it becomes text, and then it becomes whatever the best mode of communication is.
So the last question I have, and I'm guessing there may be more. You say you were opening up an office in Ogallala, or are you going into NACO's new office out there? Is where you're going to go?
Yep.
So obviously you want to be closer to the western counties. So this is more than just phone calls.
That's right.
With us being close to Lincoln,
Oh my gosh.
people,
we'd be here.
people would be here,
Here.
Every
you know,
week.
not just a phone call.
Nope.
No, we have somebody here every week.
We'd be physically
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
every week.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really important to us because HR can't be done virtually, in our opinion.
No.
I want people to see us and know us, and
Okay.
otherwise they're not going to use us. Yeah.
Daniel?
Yeah, so that was one of the questions that I had was what the on-site presence would be. One, you touched on it briefly, but I think one of the biggest things here, without really sitting down and going through a list, would be talent recruitment and vetting. And so in that, do you feel that your services are training the elected officials and department heads in processes to be better at talent recruiting and vetting, or is it something where they're coming to you saying, hey, I need to fill this position, help me do this? What?
Yeah, great question. They're coming, they're
Okay.
both, but they're coming to us
Mhm.
saying, I need these positions
Yep.
because we can do it faster.
Sure.
And then elected officials are the commissioners, they're our bosses. We have lots of bosses.
Sure.
So
Yep.
we're not making the hiring decision, we're making recommendations on who to hire. So we want to make
Yep.
sure that we can post the job, pre-screen candidates, and then
Yep.
bring forward recommendations to the elected official, and also help them
Okay.
saying, here's some questions I would ask. Here's
Sure,
some things
right.
that we really liked about this candidate. Here's
Yep.
some things we had concerns about. Here's why we addressed them, and here are the answers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good.
And I would say, just in addition to that, from a supervisor perspective within the department, sometimes, you know, there'll be questions on, well, are the questions I'm asking in the interview good? Should
Sure.
I be asking these questions?
Right.
What does that look like? And so we help navigate it from that perspective
Yep.
too. So it's kind of both sides of the coin on that,
Yep.
to say that, you know, we help navigate that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And then along with that, so let's say you vetted some candidates, said, hey, you know, I think interview these 3, 4, 7, whatever. Are you setting in on those interviews? Do you sometimes
Yes.
there might be some that would want that, some that wouldn't want that, but that is
Yeah, we're always available
that's
for
just
that.
it. I would say half and half probably. Like, for example, the county I work with, it's Old County, they know me so well that, you know, I pre-screen the candidates, get to know them really well, then I tell them for them, like, hey, here's what I like this person.
Yep.
You know, you guys want to meet with them? They're like, yep,
Yep.
set it up. So
Right.
we arrange the interview times and set up some things like that
Sure.
too.
Yep. Very good.
As the relationships forge more, it becomes very just natural.
Natural to do that.
Right. Yep. And then, so after that process, like an onboarding and or equally an off boarding and process involved in that, and
Yes.
help to create a process that works for each county.
Yes.
Yeah, because every county is different. When I work with some of you, or just saying, you know, we want to create an experience when someone comes in versus just that first 2 hours.
Right.
And then
Yep.
they're ready to go. Like,
Yep.
you know, let's create an experience for them so they can tell their family how good it was.
Sure.
Or we don't,
Yep.
because we don't want to tell them how bad it was.
Right. Yep.
And then, yeah, the offboarding process too, we're
Yep.
always there for those things
Sure.
too. We're always there for when that needs
Right.
to be done.
Yep. Very good.
The most important thing when we go through those processes is to make sure that we're taking care of people, right?
Mhm.
From a relationship perspective, when someone chooses to work at the county, which we're in this completely different era of recruiting where
Mhm.
we're choosing them just as much as they're choosing us, we need to make sure that we're reiterating that when they start on their first day, and we're, you know, making sure they feel the culture here and what's important here at York County. So
Yep.
those are things that are really important. And with the offboarding, it's, you know, how can we give this person a soft landing if it's just not really working out?
Right.
We need to
Yep.
transition away, and we've
Yep.
given them all of the opportunity to be successful. You know, how do we really work through that in the best way?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, there's some different dynamic there that we always have to consider.
Sure. Very good.
Good.
So fee structure, is it one and done, you get everything, or do we choose and say, okay, we want recruitment and retention, and we want some other process put together? Is it you pay based on what you select to have come from you, or is it you have 100 employees, therefore the price is such and such? How does that all work?
Yeah, you can do a special project, Steve, but the most popular by far is the everything included, because there's not much different in the price. And the reason for it is we want to make sure that you, hopefully at the end of the year, if they get with you, you just say, wow, we really like these guys. Hey, they work hard, they're good people, and look what they've done. And if we do special projects, we can do that too, but our special project fees are a lot different than our retained fee.
Which would be like, hey, we want you guys to do our handbook. We'd have a fee for that
Yep.
project. And there would be a start and an end to it. In the retained services that we offer, which is what the majority of counties start out with, it's a fee per month and it's all inclusive. So there is not,
Based on the number of employees, or just your accounting, everybody pays the same price?
So, yeah, so.
size is important.
Size
in
is
that- in that
important.
number.
So for your county, Steph and I talked about this, and we were recommending $5,000 a month, which is the same fee we've had for the last 3 years with a number of counties. We have several that are over that amount. And the counties that are over that amount are the ones that came to us and said, we probably need to pay you more because of what you're doing. But we want to earn it first, because that's, that's a lot of money, I understand that, but we don't need benefits. And if you were to go out and hire someone yourselves, they would cost that at least for somebody good, and we would be able to do more than one person could, a lot more. And we're also seasoned HR professionals. Everybody on our team is a seasoned HR person.
Is there, Woody, do you have more questions? Because we can ask them to stick around. We do have a 9 o'clock that we've crept past just a little bit, public hearing, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody have, you said you were good for now. I would like to, we're just, we didn't have discuss an act in which it wouldn't be a budget item anyway. You guys understand we're working with counties. I would like to maybe talk a little bit more. Daniel's vice chair, and maybe Cheryl, she walked into the room back there. She's the one that currently does our HR in the clerk's office along with payroll. Maybe we could set up a time to visit a little bit more,
Absolutely.
talk about the fee structure, and then we could report back to the board and do an
Right.
act and discuss. And by the time we got that going, we're getting close to a budget year again, so we can handle it that way, if that
Okay.
sounds okay to you.
That sounds good.
So contact information, did you bring a card with or so, Chad, that you could drop off, or either one, Steph, you have a card too. And then we can take it. Does that sound right to you,
Yeah,
Daniel?
no, I think that's good.
Okay. We appreciate you coming out today.
Thank
You're more
you.
than welcome to stay if you want.
Thank you for your time.
You bet.
Very good, thanks.
Okay, at this time, we do have a 9 o'clock whole public hearing on our 1 and 6 road and bridge program. That was publicized in the York News Times the 13th, the 20th, and 27th of January. And that we will entertain comments from the public at this point in time on the 1 and 6 road and bridge program. And there's nothing changed, is it, than what we had digitally?
Oh, yes. No, digitally, it is the same. Sorry.
Okay.
I threw me for a curve there.
Okay.
No, digitally, it is the same. It just has the map in there because I don't know if you I didn't send the map digitally, did I?
We have.
Oh, I did? Okay. Geez, that's been a while, I forgot.
Well, and Daniel had a map.
Earlier,
Early on.
yeah, hard copy, yeah.
And that has changed?
That has changed.
It has changed because I added 4 projects to this that was not on the one that I gave you, the one that Daniel gave you, the proposed one 2 weeks ago that I sent you, that I gave Dan, he gave you at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
When you come down to the end of it, and we were talking the capital improvement, on that one, it was $201,000. And after talking with you, Randy, I've had these other 4 projects on the 1-year deal, which brought it up to $845,000 toward our capital improvement. That was the changes that I done. What you got digitally, that should have been in there. And the map should have been updated at that point in time also.
So, on you say you added 4 to the 1, and do you know those, what numbers are those?
Those are,
I think it'd be on the second page, is it?
yes. That would be B983, B982, G1007, and B984.
Thank you.
Those are 3 bridges, 3 bridges and 1 road project in between 2 of the bridges, because 2 bridges are on the same mile.
Okay.
So that was what was changed on there. And I just took them from the 6-year, moved them up to the 1 year, so we had more to work against capital improvement.
Okay, and once again, this is the public hearing portion of this. Anybody from the public that would like to speak at this time, they are more than welcome to, on our 1 and 6.
Is that just that they're talking about, or is that anything else?
On the 1 and 6,
I mean, but roads in the county. Can I ask about South 13th?
It's not directly on the 1 and 6, so no, it would be something else. So, I mean, as far as gravel, stuff like that, or?
Well, I'm just curious because, after they built all that housing and stuff up on the east side of South Grant and put the church in there, the traffic on that road really went up.
Yeah.
Down the road, I mean, they probably should have blacktopped that half mile 15 years ago. I grew up over by Holdridge, and they had a road going from Loomis, it comes off the road from Loomis into Holdridge. People would cut across there instead of going through town and go to the east side of town, because the town is like this, and so they just cut across. So they just blacktopped that 1.5 miles, because they had that much traffic on it. I asked the sheriff one time about, you need to do a traffic count on that. And he said, well, that costs too much. Okay?
Well, I think for now, those are conversations that obviously we can have, but for now, obviously, we're talking about this specific 1 and 6 plan. Anybody? Okay, as nobody here wants to talk, then we will close the public version of this. And next is us, guys. We're going to discuss an act on the 1 and 6-year road and bridge program. Harvey, that last year, and I think towards the end of the year, we talked just a little bit about our last year's 1. And I know half of them or so you didn't get done.
Yes.
And, at that time, maybe we was talking about personnel and not up to snuff and, because it sure wasn't the wet weather that kept us from getting stuff done last year. So did those transfer over to this?
Yes, they
Okay.
just moved up. Basically, the ones that we did not get done were B9, nope, that's not 9-1, was B981, G1006, and 1061. Those, actually, I'm sorry, I screwed that up. B981 is a contracted project.
Right.
The 2 G1006 and G1061, they just moved up the list to where we will start with them because they are on our capital improvement to help with our budget there
Okay.
this year. So we have to get those done before June.
Okay. And so those are really the only carryovers then from last year?
Yes, and the rest of them were the ones that were left that the contractors had not got to, is what they are.
Okay.
And that is what's up on the bond project that are working, those 3 up there, the 970, 974, and B965. Those were all in the process of being let last year. We're on the 1 and 6, did not get to, those 3 are all being worked on right now. B 941 was one that we had for the county bridge match out there, did not get selected. So when we was looking at trying to get more lid room, we moved that in and put it and got it started. And then 981, we added that to it also, and that one is ready to go as soon as the contractor can get there. Both of those are.
Van Kirk is both of those
Yes.
2 projects.
Yes.
Okay. And then the rest of them, we feel like we have adequate staffing that we would be able to get these done.
We're gonna give it a heck of a try.
Okay. Some of these, as I drove and looked at all these projects over the weekend, I mean, when we get down to push and shove, are there contractors out there that we could deal with? You know, and I know our price points on them aren't too bad as far as all that, but is there contractors out there that we can deal with that may, you know, if our staffing issues don't change? And that we can look at doing this and helping them get them done.
We could hold that up and see what we can do, what their prices, at least we get the prices on it and see.
Because like on the and I don't remember which, I'm going to talk about places, not numbers. You got the numbers recognized, but west of Benedict, where we're up there with the, you know, replacing a little bit of asphalt. Looks like we had a culvert sink on us, and we're going to replace that culvert. Is that one that would? I mean, do we do the asphalt ourselves, or do we get somebody
We
to
will
come in?
put concrete over it, and yes, we usually have been doing them since
Okay.
it'll be a small patch. If it's a big patch, we try to get somebody else with more expertise in. But this should not be a very big patch to dig that one out, get everything
Okay.
replaced. But that culvert at the bottom has just completely went out,
Looked
that's
like
why
it.
it is hurtling up, that's why our road is starting to go down there.
And of course, the added traffic on it after what we did a couple of years ago. Although the road looks like it's holding up pretty well after we armor coated it. But, okay. Well, I did drive around and looked at all these, and then I was able to drive down by the bridge that seen the big crane set up down there that they're tearing that bridge out. You know, so it looked like all these were obviously adequate, what we need to do, get some stuff done. Does anybody have any other questions on the one? I guess basically we're looking at the one, that's what I've been looking at.
Right,
Touring
yeah.
around.
Well, the one question would be, we've had comments before about what East Road 4 or East 4th Street going out with an adjustment on that street, this, at 1014.
Yes.
What kind of priority is that? What's prompting that need? Is it construction of new houses going in out there, or what's
No.
happening?
That is just something that had came up and pushing to see where we was going with the Brook Road. Whether we was gonna do something with it or not do something with it. It was on the 1 and 6 last year, so I left it on there this year to bring it up because the board decided that we was going to do something with the road, and that's why it's on there at this point in time.
I think at one of those previous meetings, it says a 25-foot right of way compared with 33.
Yes, that is one of them that we have a narrow right of way on.
And then there's a box, looks like a box culvert partly that would
Yes.
get torn out and replaced.
No, that would stay there right where it is. The road would stay right where it is.
We had decided that at a fall meeting last year. The Board of Commissioners had discussed an act on it and decided to leave the road.
Yeah, late fall, early winter,
Somewhere in there.
somewhere down in that time frame.
Yes, had decided
it's
to leave
about-
where it was at,
Yes.
but do the upgrades because of the drainage issues that we're having on the east end at Ann and along there.
Clean ditches on the south side to get the drainage better,
Right.
so, yes.
Everybody have an opportunity to kind of know where these projects
Right,
are.
yeah.
across the county and see. Sometimes it's kind of, I mean, you get a map, but it's kind of nice to drive and just look at stuff Harvey gets to do every day. Is there any other questions for Harvey this morning?
I think that the things that you've covered, and Harvey and I had talked earlier on a few of the items, and so yeah, I think I don't have any questions at this time.
And we'll know as we're looking at our budget, you know, I appreciate the fact these other four are on there, whether, you know, to get going on them. I know that last year it was a rush and we got things done and that was great. And we'll, you know, we'll have to.
Well, we're kicking the can down the roads on those to see where we're at, so they will be ready when the budget comes, whether you go yes or no, but we have a lot of stuff that has to be done before we get to that point of going, oh, we gotta do these. And it's gonna cost us some money to get to that point, but we have to also have it done, because we can't always just pull the rabbit out of that hat.
Mm-hmm.
Procedurally, I don't know what's going on yet. Does the whole plan, the whole 1 year plan get approved, or do you pick and choose by items? How is that? We're not gonna back up on the two bridges that are on Road 20, because they're started, but do we give a lump approval for everything, or do you go through and say, okay, we're gonna do 965, 945, I mean, how does that operate?
I put my proposed 1 year plan to you guys. You guys as the board will either approve it as it is, or you're gonna pick it apart. That's kind of where it's at. It's in your hands now.
I think Harvey, when he puts out the 1 year, he puts it out, and correct me if I'm wrong, Harvey, that these are the projects I think I can get done this year. And then the obviously the 6 year could be more of a wish list.
Yes.
You know, and because there's been stuff on the 6 year for more than 6 years. But the 1 year is, I think they can get these done, and then obviously, as we talked earlier on, we did carry a couple over, and then they carry priority to the next year. So I guess we go by the recommendation of our highway superintendent of what he thinks we can with the input that we have given him in the past, and we kind of go with it.
Right.
And then, you know, as I stated there before, I think also if we get to where we're not getting them done, we explore the contractual, because I know there's been employee retainment and stuff issues that we're down for. How many are we down now? 4, 5? Okay. So, you know, it makes it hard to get certain things done, especially when we want to see our patrols out there all the time and not getting pulled off to do other things too. So, and maybe that's something we look at when we're a budget too, is what is realistic numbers for employees, and maybe we start changing just a little bit too. I mean, if we can't carry that many. So, but yeah, what's in front of us right now is the plan, and it's up to us.
Okay, maybe I'm stepping in wrong here. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Woody. I think the consensus of the board when we talked about Road 4, that's the one we just brought up,
Right.
was that we should leave it alone. Well, we've got $45,000 here, leaving it alone. And if we're running short, why wouldn't we just drop that off of there? Because I think when we talked about it, the majority of the board didn't want to do anything with it. So
Actually-
why are we doing this other stuff?
Actually, the vote was the majority to do it, to leave it where it was at, but do the upgrades to make it drain, was the vote.
Right, yeah, I would agree. I mean, we have an issue on the east end of that road, street, whatever, and so we really need to do something, and so this was the most economical way to take care of that.
Well, I think when you looked up that information on the books that you went back to the 1900s and look at that, and we didn't really create that road, at least not there. It was created to go down 6th Street, to go to the courthouse, correct?
Yeah, that's.
So really, it wasn't even created as a road.
I would semi-disagree. The exact location as what it reads in the road record book where they open the road. Yeah, it basically follows all of Road 12 from the county line to the cemetery, and then went north, and they said it went to 6th Street. There's no evidence that it did, and I think it was probably an issue that it was a board decision to run the road down the quarter section line. And there again, this is all speculation, but I would guess they ran into disagreement on half of the road. It's in the northeast quarter, and the board has the option to open a road to whatever width they deemed necessary. And so I think they made the option back then to put in a half road, in essence, a 33-foot wide road instead of 66.
So in other words, they put in a driveway, not a road.
Yeah, like I said, in 1872, you had the option of whatever width, and roads at that time weren't 33 feet wide or 66
No,
feet wide.
cars weren't 12 foot wide either.
Yeah, so that was just, and further to explain that, excuse me, why I think they went that direction, if they would have continued on the Road 12, they would have had to build 2 bridges before they got to Lincoln Avenue. And so I think that's why they turned and went north there, and the intent was basically to take traffic down to the courthouse. So, yeah, putting a road in on a half-mile line is not typical. But the counties had the option to open it where they deemed necessary. So,
And through the court, to catch a couple of you up from last fall, through the course conversation we had then, it was talked about closing it. Well, then we found out that, through the advice of our surveyor, that closing it really wasn't an option because of and now we're finding out it was probably a road the whole time anyway. So definitely. So what do we do? I mean, I've got a picture on my phone of the landowner out there where the road's underwater. So we got to fix our road so to make it passable. And I think what the board, because we had talked about moving it and doing all these other things, which was going to be way more expensive. Instead, we voted and took action to leave it where it was at, but do the upgrades to make it drain. And I guess that's where we was at last fall, or like I say, whenever we can look that time frame up and see where we're at. But I don't remember it being unanimous not to do anything.
I didn't say unanimous, Randy.
Okay. So, I guess if we want to drop that one from this one, that's up to this board now. That's the decision that board made, and it's up to this board. But the question I would have for those that want to drop it, what are we going to do with the county road that sits under water that's a road?
Well, since the
What's
city
the
has a well
solution?
field right out there, they'd have to come up with some kind of an idea, wouldn't they?
It is still a county road. It's not annexed property into the city limits, so it's still a county road.
Well, I was under the impression that you can't annex agricultural land between 2 ports. You can't skip agricultural land and then annex another area out there. I think the city had that problem with the airport.
It's supposed to be continual, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they were to annex anything out there, they'd have to annex all the way through that agricultural land that's out there, that's right behind the house on the corner.
Right.
Right.
Right. And through conversations with the city, they have no intentions whatsoever at this point in time of doing that.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to go by, unless you know different.
I'm not saying a word about
Okay.
it.
I mean, I've had, you talk to the city administrator, I talk to the mayor, they have no interest in that right now.
Right now. All right.
I mean, I don't know how we prove them wrong, I don't know. Public comments over, I'm sorry, Lord. So where do we stand, guys?
I would make a motion that we approve the 1 and 6 plan as presented by the highway administrator.
Resolution.
By resolution.
Thank you, Daniel. I would second that. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Coates,
Yes.
Obermeyer,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler. There.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I don't think we can get the other stuff done. We do have a 9:30, so we'll let you come up and get started. How's that sound?
Good.
Yeah, 9:26. Or were you gonna come up?
Yeah.
Okay. I see there's a whole bunch of you there. I don't know who's all coming up.
you with their presence.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Just hold his chair.
Who's ever gonna come up, Todd,
Okay. I'll come up.
please come up. We'll take name and address for the record, please, of all those who are gonna testify.
I'll start. My name is Jennifer Rasmussen, it's Rasmussen, and I am with the State's Administrative Office of the Courts and Probation.
Okay?
Carrie Sermino, CarrieSermeno, I'm Judge Spector's bailiff.
Allison O'Neill, I'm clerk magistrate of the county court.
Sherilyn Stubbe, clerk of the district court.
Okay, thank you. I assume they got you here to talk.
They do. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm basically here to ask questions. I'm assuming you're all familiar with the project that the State Supreme Court started back in 2021 to upgrade audiovisual technology in the trial courts across the state and try to get everybody at sort of a consistent level and using similar technology. And the goal is really, we learned from the pandemic that we had a great variety of ability to use technology in all the different trial courts across the state, which presented challenges to judges and clerks and attorneys and parties. And the Supreme Court had some money in 2021 that they wanted to allocate and said, what we'd like to do is use this money to help the counties to put in some new professional grade audiovisual systems that will help future-proof the courts for the next 10, 15 years. At that point, we did a RFP, we got a contractor, and then the contractor went around the state and did site visits, surveys to see each courtroom, to talk to court staff, to talk to judges, see what their particular needs were. And then they came up with a proposal and a design that would incorporate what the Supreme Court said is kind of the baseline for technology that courts should be using. That includes the ability to do electronic exhibits, the ability to do remote and hybrid hearings, the functional microphones and speaker systems to be sure that audio is recorded in the instance when we're doing digital recording to create a good record, and then also so all participants can hear throughout the courtroom. Those designs, I believe, have been given to you for the courtrooms here for you to review. The cost of that equipment and the installation is covered under the court's project, so that is being paid by the Administrative Office of Courts and Probation. The cost to the county, essentially what we're asking is if there is any pre-work that needs to be done on the infrastructure in the courtroom, such as electrical wiring, data cabling. In the case of county court here, I know there's a little bit of physical changes to the bench that might be necessary because the rack that we're bringing in is a little higher than what's available for space there. So some of that preparatory work we're asking that the county boards contract for or use building maintenance for. And then once the system is installed, that equipment becomes the property of the county. We have a formal letter of transfer of ownership so that it is then the county's service plan that comes with it. So if that's also paid for, a 5-year service and support agreement from the vendor. The county can work directly with them if there are any issues for troubleshooting, issues that come up during the course of use of the technology, and then of course any warranties, things like that would also be the property of the county. Any
Brief overview. Okay, so the equipment automatically transfers to the county then?
Correct.
So then it would be our, if it goes out, the state's initial penny on these two projects, I don't know, it was 150 or just roughly something like that. And then that automatically transfers to us.
Yes.
For
After installation and verification that everything is in working
Right.
order and delivered as expected.
But then that would be the baseline of what we would be expected to keep at that status. So if this equipment goes out, we need to replace that equipment. I would assume the equipment comes with some kind of warranty that would last for a while, but at some point in time, it would be on the county's dime unless the state come up with more money again to do some upgrades.
That's correct. It would essentially be the county's decision from there on out. If, so let's say, a camera were to go out in 5 or 6 years, if the county wanted to replace that, wanted to operate just on the 3 cameras that are left, or wanted to negotiate and have the state pay for an additional camera, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Any questions, Jennifer? I know that there was a wiring question in the county courts. Was there something with the wiring? I know we talked about the bench. We talked about, there's going to be a TV mounted on the wall. The floor wiring, was there?
We took a look at that briefly just before coming down here, and I do see that there are already floor penetrations, like under the council tables, and we could potentially make use of those. The question is, I might have to have a conversation with the building maintenance supervisor to find out how big of an opening is there, because the systems that we're putting in, they take some shielded Cat5 cabling, which is bigger than just your regular old microphone cable.
Okay.
And what we run into some of the courthouses is that the floor penetration is there, but the conduit is not big enough. And so we just determine if it's feasible to put in maybe a little bit bigger conduit, and then we can just fish it under the floor as opposed to having to go over the carpet. If they do have to go over the carpet, there is a product they use to keep it from being a trip hazard, that sort of thing. But I know a lot of our judges prefer to have it underneath, and frankly, we all do. It's just cleaner, it looks better, keeps it from being, wear and tear, that kind of thing.
That was Judge Homoka's one concern about the wiring.
Okay. All right. And then in the district court side, we talked about the cabinet would be obviously back out of the way, and then we had that voided wall so we could get the wiring through there. I mean, that would, and I don't think there, was there any issues with the floor penetration on the district court side?
I don't believe so. I think we can run it under the
We're
tables.
okay.
Already the wiring.
Our big upgrade there, not big, but we would need to recess the TV behind the juror box would be the,
New TV that's going in there, so there would be electric one that needs to be recessed so that
Okay.
jurors don't hit their head on it. And then I think 4 data ports maybe, and
Interact takes 3 data cables.
okay. So, does anybody else have any questions this morning?
I just had one question. I believe it's in the county court. There's a countertop that is being removed. How much space? My question is the rack that's coming in there. The room is laid out pretty aesthetically right now. Removing that countertop and is that going to throw off that aesthetic look in that courtroom? Do we know?
I would say no, but Alex, you might want to.
No, Judge Homolka would prefer if we could just move it up and not remove it entirely, so, because there's probably 2 or 3 inches of leeway on top.
Yep.
So if we could just move that counter up.
I see.
And then it would fit underneath
Right.
that,
So
so.
the facade or the
Yes.
wall that's there, that can all stay.
Yes.
It's just that we need that extra 2 or 3 inches or
Correct.
whatever. Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
That makes more
It wouldn't
sense.
affect the outside.
Right.
It's just that inner ledge, and then that countertop
Yeah.
would just need to be moved
Okay.
up, so that wiring and system can fit underneath
Right.
there.
Yep.
Because that's the door that she walks into
Yep.
court at, so.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Very good.
So the 65-inch monitors, who are they for? Is it for the people that are in the audience, if that's the right term, at the courtroom, or is it, because the one's going behind the jurors, so it isn't for the jurors to view? Who's that, what's that 65-inch monitor for?
In county court, the big TV would go behind the testifying box,
Right,
and that would be for the jury, and the attorney is sitting out front.
right.
And then the judge would have her own screen on the bench. Now, in district court, their TV would, I can't speak for yours, I don't know
It
their
would be
layout.
directly across
Yes.
from the judge and I. It's really, it'd be just 3 TVs in there so that everyone can see, who's on the video.
And the one drawing looks like it's behind the jurors, so
Yes,
so the jurors, what monitor are they gonna watch?
there is one directly across. So
And that one's already there. Is that?
those two are there and they
Yeah,
stay there.
right.
Yeah, the one on the south wall and the one on the east wall would stay. This is just an additional one.
And just to address that one just a little bit, when we do have jury trials or anything where we will actually utilize a jury, we typically have a movable or rollable TV as well that we can move towards the jury so that the jury actually has the ability to see the smaller details rather than looking at something that's 30 feet across the room.
So you need from the county, I know that we was talked about, when we had met, you talked about signing something or having something that we're signing off, but what I'm seeing in front of me here is a signature for a customer.
Which is ultimately, my boss, Chad Cornelius, the judicial branch CIO, will sign that document, the one that has the pricing on it, because
Okay.
it's under the state contract.
So what you would need from us is what then?
There is a separate memorandum of understanding that's between the county board and the state administrative office of the courts, which really is the base agreement for the eventual transfer of ownership.
Okay.
And so that is what we're asking.
Was there a copy of that in here that I missed? I don't remember seeing a copy of that.
Okay, if we do not, I apologize, and we'll get you that so that you can
Okay.
review that.
Yeah, that would be, and the time frame.
Well, so right now, we're scheduled out with our installations through about April. I would say, it's generally 90 days from the time that we get county approval to when our vendor CTI is ready to do an installation. Takes about 90 days to do the procurement, giving of the hardware, they have to do some programming and things like that. So we would likely be looking at late summer, would be my guess for installation.
Which would give us that amount of time to get the prep work ready in the, okay. And then, obviously that's a scheduling for both you guys, is when they come in and do the construction, because I assume it isn't gonna take place overnight,
No, it's a full 5 days in each courtroom
Okay.
that we ask for.
Do you try to do both then at the same,
It's really up to court schedules and what works the
if
best.
you can make it work?
Hopefully, don't make anything work. A lot of times they want to have at least one functional courtroom at a time.
Yeah, I know. I like the idea of doing them separate,
Yeah.
because then if we need to utilize a courtroom, that other one's still available.
Mm.
And we're looking out to have a full week right now, we're looking at June or July, so the sooner we can get that signed, we can get on their schedule, because our calendar's pretty full.
Okay.
Yeah, we're booked out to May already, so.
Good to be busy, huh? So you have that,
It was not in there, so
No.
we can get it.
Yeah.
We'll go
I
back
can
to the
get it
office
to you.
and get that.
and then we can put that on a meeting, the next meeting or the meeting after, and then discuss an act and go from there. Does anybody have any other questions? We have the information in front of us about the upgrades, and if we do have any, we can always reach out upstairs too.
Sounds good.
Okay?
If you can do that.
Yeah.
Will it be the same? Will it be the same? Do we need one for both county and district?
There is only one memorandum of understanding per county, so it covers both.
Okay, it'll cover both. All right.
Yeah, that's it, that's just the 2 pages.
Perfect.
But you may want to take some time to review it and have your county attorney.
We'll get it to everybody. Yep, absolutely. There you go. Okay,
Cool.
If there's no other questions, thank you.
Very good.
Have a great
Thanks.
day.
I think Tom's here.
I see that.
Okay.
Tom, would you like to come forward? We got you standing in the back of the room. We've got a full house today. Tom, if you'd name and address for the record, please, if you would.
Address?
Yes, please.
Address as far as like.
Business.
Great. Tom Nielsen, company address is 850 Q Street, Lincoln, Nebraska, 68508. So this is the company name. I guess I'm here today to kind of overview-wise of CIO type services that we're providing already for the sheriff's office, as relates to the sheriff's office and possible working with the greater county as a whole. So to kind of review that. Daniel has sent me out, I guess, a form, a piece of paper via email last week or so, kind of outlining some of those services. And for the most part, item for item, matched up exactly what's already being provided to for the sheriff's office, and kind of review some of that. I was going to hand out some of that, but I'm going to kind of refrain from doing that in this medium. Some of it was kind of for the sheriff's office only, some of their review process for the past quarter, but once I hand that to them, then you're more than happy to review it accordingly if you need to. Predominantly our role with the sheriff's office is first and foremost of the CIO type services, kind of go through that inline item here. Typically we have our quarterly based meetings. We do kind of go over the daily backup verification, all the alerts and escalations. There is substantial monthly IT reporting and stats that are done. There is warranty status and reporting that's done as well. This is done through our automation tools. There is monthly security scanning and reporting as well, both internal and external to the network on the sheriff's side, 911. Email and domain management as required at this time through Office 365. Network infrastructure patch management, which does include all the servers, equipment, PCs, infrastructure-wise, switches, firewalls, all that kind of jazz. Project management for the IT network that does extend into various items like Zerker and Geocom and special items that they have going on. The entire network is inventoried and managed accordingly and audited accordingly. Vendor management, meaning that we do try to be that, I won't say the middleman, but we do try to have that white glove type service. We don't necessarily have the clients call the vendors as needed in case there's problems. We kind of want them to call us so they can kind of continue to do their job, and we'll kind of handle that for them. Just kind of helps ease their pain. The support desk is available 24/7, 365. It's always pretty much first, second thing. We're not staffed 24/7. However, if you do call, there's always a live answer, so it rotates accordingly amongst the individuals here. The cyber security stuff is unique. There's actually an agent that runs on the network. It scans in real time for threats and vulnerabilities against all types of
devices. So for example, the DVR in the back room here, or whatever it is, it finds that device, scans accordingly, and it's out of date with patches, will notify us. There is cybersecurity awareness training that kind of happens and should happen. Sheriff's office is typically pretty good about that. They get stuff from the state. Other counties that we deal with, assessors and treasurers, are sometimes not so much up on it, but those services are definitely available. The internal real-time security vulnerability scanning is there as well. Reporting is there. We typically handle internally along with the remediation. Most of the clients that we deal with are like, hey, as long as it's taken care of, show us the reports, it's green, we're good. Employee phishing and testing and training, that's kind of fun. Sample emails are randomly sent out every month against employees and so on and so forth to kind of see if they click on certain things triggered to make sure that they're reviewing things accordingly. And then, of course, third-party questionnaires. And we're going to talk about that here in a second as well, for PCI insurance and your certification-wise. From the PC standpoint, full IT support, we blanket that. It's on-site remote, it doesn't matter. We don't charge for like being on-site, we don't charge for being remote, we don't charge by the minute, there's no trip fees, it's 24/7. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning, if the sheriff's vehicle has an issue, we're here. If the jail has an issue, we're here. It just doesn't matter. I know when the courtrooms had issues with the WebEx stuff back several months ago, we're here dealing with the speakers and the ceilings. It just does not matter. It's a no-nos policy. So the goal is to make sure that things are up and running and making sure that people are happy. Company help desk and metrics are reporting monthly. That's what this stuff is. We're here. Web filtering, reporting metrics, all the boring stuff. So it kind of blocks the adware, the spyware. There is advanced stuff in there. So if you have county policy that is global against the county to block certain bad sites, gambling and such, that can be enacted across the county on a case-by-case basis. Proactive monitoring is also done, so predictive hard drive failures, all that kind of stuff. If something is going to fail, it does alert us, lets us know that something is going to happen. And then, of course, whether it's PCs or Macs, I know there's no Macs here, iPads, but for the most part, that is also tracked. And endpoint backups, meaning all the PCs and so on and so forth, are backed up as well. They're backed up from the document section, so like all your devices there are on the system now. All those devices are backed up twice a day as long as they're turned on. Same with the officer's tough books and the PCs over in that area. The servers are imaged daily, so the servers in the back room downstairs are imaged every day. And there's obviously 24/7 emergency type support. We don't dictate the emergencies except if this place goes down, if the servers go down, but we don't dictate if there's an emergency on, say, your device, your laptop. If you can't print it and it's emergency at 2 o'clock in the morning, call. We don't say it's an emergency or not. It's just you can't print, you feel like you need it for first thing in the morning. That's happened before in the past, so we will not go into details. So, and the same thing happens with the server side too. So there's essentially the three components of the PCs, the servers, and also the overall reaching services of the CIO piece of it. The CIO relationships are the most important to us. The PCs and the servers, they're commodities. I mean, anybody can do it. It's pretty simple to do. You fix your broken stuff. It's a commodity-based service. The CIO piece is the piece where there's a seat at the table and there's a care and feeding of the corporate network. What's been hard about York for us is that there's a blend. There's pieces and parts that we reach into the different parts of the county with. And over the past year or so, there's been some things on the attorney side that we've had some access to, and some of the things have showed up on the reports, and we kind of have to ignore some things, and so on and so forth. I've also been asked by Gary Peterson, last year was the first year, I was asked again this year, and the reports are due on the 28th of this month, but there are some pretty exorbitant county-wide security stuff that's being asked from Homeland Security stuff about the county and its security and its stance. And the questions I'm being asked are addressing the entire county as a whole. It's hard to answer those questions. And I answered them last year based on, it's more of a survey more than a definitive answer. And we're going to go through it again this year, but the questions are pretty strongly worded. And again, it's a survey. It's not like committing the county to anything, but there's definitely some very strong language about, is the county doing this? It's not saying, is this section of the building doing this? It's saying, is the county doing this?
So, and it has to be answered in, truth. And again, it's a survey, but the questionnaires that you guys get answered by NACO and everything else are overreaching other counties. So I just got done with another county yesterday, and I can successfully say that certain counties are doing certain things. With York, it's a little bit tough. So, but every county, I believe, and every organization, no matter if it's for-profit, nonprofit, governmental, there needs to be a singular step amongst boards of saying, this is how we approach things. So whether it's policy, procedure, process, there is a singular step. So however you manage that or do that, that is up to you. But at the end of the day, there is a singular step to address everything. And so whatever that ends up to be. So I think the document that was written was very, well written. I think it was decent. But at the end of the day, it just needs to be kind of layered through everything as a whole, and so on and so forth. The biggest issue is you are a 24/7 operation. There are things that happen here night and day. So you have to have the ability for someone to respond night and day, 24/7. And I know things with Zerker and all of the stuff that does happen between these facilities, and you guys are essentially a hot backup for other county agencies. There is just a lot of dependence on this facility as a backup facility for others and everything else. So, but yeah. Questions so far? Sorry for the convoluted jargon.
You're good,
Keep
Tom.
it down a little bit.
I know that, I won't say several, but a few years ago, you actually bid to do the whole county. And that was about the time that I think you took over and do the call center and sheriff's department. And that's probably been four years or so now, roughly, I'm guessing.
I had more hair.
I seem, I don't know about that. So anyhow, it has the IT and Daniel serving on the tech committee, and I know there's other tech committees members here. Have you revisited an overall county cost to this? Because I know that we already pay Soren Group a cost, on as we see it through our vendor claims, to do the 24/7, 365 for, let's say, the north quarter of the building. Has there been anything done in that respect yet?
Not officially. We've had discussions, and not to put words in your mouth, but basically, like you said, we have a contract with Soren. If Soren was to move to a full county service, the additional cost would be a per unit, per PC, that would go on to that they would be monitoring. So the initial fee we're already paying, and then it would be however many more PCs we add to their.
Regardless of where they're at?
That is correct.
Meaning, they're not all within this building.
Yeah, and that's been some of the disconnect now, because there's been things that have happened in roads, for example, and in aging, that things that are still not working correctly because there's no reach. The panic buttons, for example, they're still broke.
Mm-hmm.
They're still I'm unable to get access to the networks over there to get them connected, and there's a disconnect. So it's so whether it's roads or aging or here, as you said, they're just devices on the network. They're just a couple PCs here, a couple PCs here, and a few over here. The sheriff's office already has the lion's share, I think, of everything. So there's really just a couple more devices out there of Windows-based PCs. So at the end of the day, it's not a whole lot of more devices out there. So, the biggest issue for me is right now is that there's pieces and parts with email being separated and so on and so forth. And there's these panic devices that are out there, and there's things in the county that are noticeably broken, and there's no ability for me to fix it, but it's all dovetailing back inside the sheriff's world. So the sheriff has the panic button systems inside of their offices, which they have to respond to, but you press the buttons and they're not going to work. And I have no ability to walk into roads and fix those devices.
Sure.
So I just like. So I would like to have that ability to just go fix them. So won't seem the issue at this point. The email services, there is disconnects there because we need to get these folks over here and get them over here. The clerk, especially for all of her election stuff. So there's things that have to happen to kind of get things merged over. And process is already there, but
Right.
we just kind of make this happen.
Yep.
So, but yeah, as far as cost and everything else, we're not a project rent company. We're not an organization that says, oh, there's a project over here, there's time and material, build more. It's just literally extra devices, and that's what it is, and we move forward. So we think so. We're kind of in it for a long game with that piece of it. So that's how that works.
So the tech committee would need to, what I'd like to see is the tech committee, if we're talking about doing, like a request for a proposal.
Yep.
Do that, do the front work on that.
Yep.
And then bring to the commissioners a recommendation. That I would think would be a great way to do it.
Right.
You know, anybody else have any comments up here? I know, Chris, you had your hand up. Anything else? Chris,
Yep, just
for
a
the county
quick-
attorney's office, or?
Well, just a budgetary question. To that end, if we do switch over to a full county system for IT, is that something that each office is going to budget out of, so that for our 5 PCs, we pay $500, or is that it comes out of some general fund in the county for IT services?
I would assume it'd come out of data processing, which is where a lot of this stuff has been transferred to anyway.
Got it.
Because when you sell a service, do you also sell components?
No.
So the county would, because I know with what we're doing with the other, that's part of the project. And I know there's available, I don't, we've never ever looked into the state, a bid or stuff like that, or whatever, but.
Most counties treat us as a utility like power.
Okay.
If I can make one note based on the courtrooms and the AV upgrades. When you guys go through that process, make sure there's really good UPSs on those systems provided by the state. If there's not, invest in good UPS systems. Power battery backups. So these power hits are really, really, really bad for AV equipment. I haven't checked the 10 or 12 counties I'm involved in. The exact same process is happening everywhere. That's one question. That's one thing I've not seen so far in the proposal. I've not asked either. But some of the remote counties, I'm heading out to Furnace after this to go get that exact same thing, and the power hits are atrocious. And when you have that equipment transferred to you on that final day, battery backups and power hits will torch that equipment sooner than 5 years, very fast. So if it's delivered to you without UPSs, just make sure you have it in the budget. You won't need much.
Right.
A good battery backup would definitely help you.
Very good.
Sam, did you have anything else?
No, I think that at this point, I think that's what we wanted to hear, and so I think that's good.
Okay. Anybody else? Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We're close enough to the board. We won't do anything else. We'll jump into board equalization here in a minute. Kurt, so you got all your stuff. At this time, we'll recess as Board of Commissioners. And in a minute here, we'll convene as a Board of Equalization. We're actually going to be right on time.
Mm-hmm.
Go from one elected challenged gentleman to the next.
Happens to the best of us, Kurt.
Yeah. Committee stayed consistent with District 2, let's see, airlines. And Blair, yeah.
Harv?
I
Are
think
you
so, yeah.
blasting? Will you be
That
around?
works.
Yeah, I'm running upstairs.
Okay, stick around today if you would, please. Thank you. Dump me off there.
Yikes. the 1 and 6.
All right there, okay. We will convene as Board of Equalization. Open meeting, roll call, I'm sorry.
Brooks,
Present?
Bear,
Present.
Ziegler, Spikes,
Present.
Obenmeyer.
Present, open meetings law is posted on the south side of our chambers, on our website, and the hallway outside of our chambers. Proof of publication was February 2nd in the News Times, also on our website. Review and approve the minutes of the January 24th Board of Equalization meeting.
Move to approve?
Thank you, Daniel.
Second.
Thank you, Jack. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks,
Yes.
Spikes,
Yes.
Ziegler, Bear,
Yes.
and Obenmeyer.
Yes, adopt today's agenda.
I so move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bear,
Yes.
Spikes,
Yes.
Ziegler, Brooks,
Yes.
Obenmeyer.
Yes. Okay. Kurt.
All right. Kurt Bolgren, your county assessor, have some tax list corrections for you. You all have this document here. You'll see that the first 3 items, or 4 items, 2, 3, 4, and 5, are listed as void because I made mistakes on those and I presented those at the last meeting. So we will just need to void those. And then correction 723R then corrects tax year, one of the tax years on, I think, the first 2 and 3. So 7 corrects 2 and 3. We're just changing the name on that parcel. And then 823R, it corrects 4 and 5. So those are the correlations there. Correction number 56, you'll see that's numbered differently. That was the old way we numbered corrections. There was a, once that 56 was approved, there was found to be a clerical error, and it went ahead on the statement, on the form, they went ahead and corrected it instead of having the board formally correcting it. So we're voiding 56 and we're presenting it again as 923R. And that is it, gentlemen.
Kurt, any questions for Kurt today?
The only question on correction number 8, well, I guess 7 and 8, the property ID is the same on both of those.
Yes.
Should one of those property IDs be different?
No, it's the same parcel number.
Okay.
It's just different tax years. That's
Okay.
why there's 2 different ones.
I see. Okay, I see.
21 and 22.
Okay.
Yep.
That corrects 2 and 3.
Right.
Okay. And then so
Well, 7
4.
corrects 2 and 4, and then 8 would correct 3 and 5. What I did was on 2, I just pretty much transferred things from one parcel to the other.
Sure.
I didn't really do that. All I needed to do was just change
Oh,
the name.
I get it. Okay, all right. That's why. Okay, that makes more sense. That's why, what I was noticing is 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 had different property IDs, but that's why, because it was transferred rather than a name change.
And
Okay.
if you'd like in the future, I can include tax years on there just so you know. That
Mm,
would help
right.
with
Sure.
that. So-
Okay.
Okay.
I would move that we accept the tax roll corrections as presented by the York County Assessor.
Second.
Thank you, guys. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks,
Yes.
Spikes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Obenmeyer.
Yes.
I'll bring it back down to you.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have discuss and act on the application of exemption for York College, a 26 Ford minibus. And did we reach out to them?
I haven't heard back yet, but yeah, it was supposed to be York University.
They filled out?
York College.
Okay.
You want, I can tell them just redo it and we can, approve it next week.
Right. Probably should.
That's
Yep.
The only thing I wondered was if they hadn't changed,
Oh, change their nonprofit
I don't know, I mean, Todd's usually
registration.
very,
Right.
you know, yeah.
The ones that we approved for January, their renewals and stuff, they had for York University.
Okay.
So should this one be York University also?
Right.
That's
Yeah,
what we're
that's
thinking, but and Todd, he might be out of town or something, because usually he's pretty thorough about
Pretty
that.
good, yeah. The other thing I was thinking too is all of their vehicles are under York College, so I don't know if that matters or not.
The ownership.
the
of
titles
them.
and whatnot.
They would match, the York College.
True.
Well, I'm guessing, there's no time frame on this that you're aware of, is there? Maybe the best thing to do is postpone till the next meeting on this one and do our diligence to reach out and get a confirmation rather than doing it and then find out we
Yep.
have to change.
Right. I agree.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'd entertain a motion to postpone till the next meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Sykes?
Yes.
Ziegler? Bear?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to the end of our Board of Equalization, so we will adjourn. And we will resume as the Board of Commissioners. We've got a couple things to do yet. Okay, discuss an act, let's go with discuss an act on approving the Housing Advisory Committee recommendations for the SEND project numbers. Everybody have that information?
Looked like all of them had just one
Yeah.
bid, and it looked like all of the bids came in lower than SEND's estimate. The spotlight, that other document, that was just on there for a review, right?
Well, they just wanted to show you what they have.
Where they-
done,
yep.
What the program has
Yep.
accomplished. And they did send a front cover that I didn't get sent to you guys, like, they did one project in Benedict, three in Bradshaw, 8 in Gresham, 3 in Henderson, and 13 in York.
And I think the last time we talked to Ryan, they were gonna try to reach out to some of the communities again and see if they couldn't get any more interest in the other communities, and if they couldn't, then they would, because I know that there's more in York that can be done, but they were gonna try to reach out to the other ones and see if they could push them along or hold their hand or some way to make it go better for them. And if you've seen that overview, there was 188,000 left, I believe, wasn't there?
Let's see.
Let's see, Ryan. I'm going
Remaining
from
upon the project approval, 184,515.
memory. And that would have been out of the original 500.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
On the Housing Advisory Committee's recommendations, I would move to approve projects R2A 15, 26, 13, and 23.
Thank you, Daniel. I'll second that. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks?
Yes.
Overmark?
Yes.
Sykes?
Yes.
Ziegler?
Yes.
Bear?
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, next up, we'll go with discuss an act on authorizing chairman to sign an opioid settlement. Whether you're all aware or not, there's an opioid settlement we're currently involved in that's got a several-year payout. Now there's another one proposed. It's got 2 manufacturers and 3 distributors that are involved in it. And of course, we have to have a signature to get on board. The last time we went through this, it seemed like the Attorney General's office, and NACO was getting us the information first. With this one, it came direct from the lawsuit, and I think that's because we're already in the other lawsuit, so they had our name populated. I did reach out to NACO. They're starting to get some information. Actually, the counties apparently that were involved in the other lawsuits got the information first ahead of NACO, so they will be reviewing it. I have also received a DocuSign document already to get on board. We have till April the 18th to sign it, but I asked Kelly to put it on the agenda. The payout on this one was like, $5,000. It's roughly the same as the other one. Well, I'm sorry, we just got our money in from the other one this last week. That was $5,000. I did not see a report on this one
Yeah,
yet.
okay.
So
So is that money designated, or is it just going to general fund?
just goes, well, it goes into a opioid fund, but it is, we can use it for whatever we want to use it for, yes. At the onset, there was some choices. We could give it away if we wanted, or we could say we don't want no part of this lawsuit. And the board at that time said no, we'll take it and we'll figure out what we're going to use it for at that point in time.
It's not that big of money.
It's not a huge sum of money, but it could buy some PCs. It can do different things like that. We had yet to receive it, so we had yet to really talk about it much of it. Like I said, this last week we had just got our first receipts in. One was $1,300, one was $5,600, something like that. So.
Or you don't have to designate it at all, it just goes to general fund, probably. Huh?
It doesn't go into general. It has
to be
its own,
designated.
for tracking purposes. We put it in its own fund, so we'll have to expend out of it
To something specific. Okay.
Yep.
I would assume that we will want to opt into this settlement. Do we feel that there's any benefit in holding off and seeing what NACO information they get and share to us, or do we go ahead and opt in?
Candace talked to
Okay,
NACO,
yep.
so they were just waiting to hear. They hadn't really heard much about
Sure.
it. They knew it was out there.
Yep.
So obviously the counties were jumping in.
Right.
So I don't know that there's going to be any disadvantage. I obviously will take the DocuSign, which I haven't done yet, forward it to the county attorney's office, and the county attorney look over that and make sure that we're good, on it before it gets signed.
Right, sure.
For their approval.
Yep.
And we can put it off for a meeting if you want to, but just, I had it on this one.
Yep.
We did the first one, I didn't see a reason why we wouldn't do the next one.
Yep. I would make a motion that pending the county attorney's review of the agreement, that we authorize the chairman to sign the opioid settlement.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Gross.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Fair.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, next up, discuss and act on committee assignments. I assume everybody had an opportunity to look at them. This is one that is asked. Does that got the additional on it?
This is 2023. Oh, no. I didn't put that. 911.
There is one missing from there. It's the 911 Advisory Committee. And currently, it's myself. It was Bill and myself served on that one. That's a committee made up when we formed the call center with the city of York. There is 2 commissioners on it. There's the mayor and a council person on it. Sheriff serves on it. The police chief serves on it. The fire chief serves on it. what are we gonna call what's EP is the Rural Fire Board, yeah, so it's made up of members, to meet, we meet quarterly. Leela is usually, I know I'm listed as being in charge, but she really is, because she goes through the meeting, so that one, we will need to fill Bill's spot on that one. And then as we look through the ones I have in front of me, obviously the technology committee, the Brenda's will not be on, and I don't, do they have a sheet that has the old?
They have a whole.
Okay, so I'm working from the bottom up. Technology committee, obviously Brenda Scavo is no longer with us, so she is not on that one. And then I believe the handbook committee also, Brenda's name can be crossed out. The safety and security, John Lyons' name needs to be crossed out of there. And then, of course, the rest of the way up, we have the commissioners, who they are.
Kurt did say he was still on the legislation.
He did tell you that, okay. I guess I would ask, is there, and, guys, I look at these as, we do have alternates, but typically the first person is the first person is the person, I mean, it's who takes care of it, has the continuity with the boards, and, I mean, there were some occasions where the alternate served, but typically it's that person. So when you're asking to be, if you see one that you like, that you want to be the front man for, I mean, there would be an alternate, but it's typically you, because it just seems that's the way it worked. I mean, Jack takes care of Four Corners. I believe we share on that one together. The aging serves Four Corners.
Four Corners.
I'm sorry, York Aging Services, me and you, but typically that's always you.
Yeah.
So.
Four Corners was Bill and I, but Bill never went.
Right.
I would take that 911 advisory committee if you want to put somebody on there.
I mean, I look at these as, yes, they're chairman appointed committee assignments, but it should be what you want to do.
That's why I mentioned it.
Okay. You want to do that?
I will do that.
Okay. Technology committee, once again, I'm working on, Kurt had said that he would stay on that.
No, the legislation.
Yeah, I think he's going to stay on the
No,
tech also.
He sent me a deal about the technology.
Okay, I'm
So
sorry.
So he apparently
He
did.
didn't tell me that one.
Yeah, he said he would like to stay on that one. That one did, I mean, there was two commissioners on it, didn't need two
Right.
commissioners
It
on
don't-
it, it was just
right.
because.
Yep.
As a member of the technology committee, do you think we need to fill that the spot that was vacated by Brenda, or?
I mean, I would say that having one other person on there would not be a bad thing if there's somebody that wanted to be on there.
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
And so I think that'd be perfectly fine.
Well, I went through here and marked the ones I would be interested in doing, so
Mhm.
should I just tell
Go
you?
ahead, Stan.
One was on the legislative committee, one was the road alliance in the Region 5 and Blue Valley. It's ones I marked that I could do. Is that what you want?
Yep.
Okay. But if somebody else wants those jobs, that's whatever.
To my knowledge, there's never been any fighting over jobs here.
I could do landfill in Region 5, roads if there's spots there.
Are you keeping up, Kelly? We'll start from the top when we get there. If that's all right.
I would keep the veterans liaison since Bill is no longer there.
Now, that is one where two of you did typically go, right?
Bill and I went to the veterans.
Are you? Okay.
We're gonna leave it tomorrow.
I'm not a veteran, does that make a difference?
Oh, yeah, it doesn't make a difference. Oh, we should take John Lyons off of that one, that was a good one.
Okay. A lot of stuff got thrown out. Let's start from the top.
Okay.
We got Stan as Blue Valley. Building and grounds, myself. County relief, Jack, and, I'm just going with what I have right now. Economic development, YCDC, we have Daniel yet. Landfill, we have Daniel and Woody. Region 5, we have Stan, had talked about it. Woody, you said you would be available to serve on that. I think that's just a one, Jack, you filled in the one time.
Which one are you talking
Region
about?
5.
Yeah, I just
That is,
went down to Castle.
that's just typically just one though, right? We don't have two there?
Just one.
Just one, okay. Just one serves, there would be a backup, so.
Okay.
Do one of you have, between the two of you, Stan, you got interest in that one? That one is a traveler, meaning it's typically Mondays, I believe, quarterly at
9:30.
9:30, and then it's
They have
region.
another meeting they have lunch and then they have another meeting the same day.
Region 5 and Region Systems. It's a dual, both of them. So.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
And then I can back that.
Okay.
They'll let me know when to do what, they'll send me communication, I take it.
Yeah, we'll get them.
I send it out to
Yeah,
everyone,
okay.
and then
We'll go from there, yeah.
We had talked just a little bit, Daniel, about sand.
Yep.
Are you willing to?
Yeah, I can fill in there.
I would just be this, Daniel will be the front man. Aging services will stay the same, Four Corners Health, we have Jack, Road Department Liaison, okay, we have Daniel yet. Obviously, we can't have three, both of them showed interest. Stan, if you're taking the front on that, and you said Blue Valley, Woody, that one is typically, it's the way it's been done in the past, is they meet with Harv, like today, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 7:15-ish.
That's a challenge, so I better not.
But every
meeting before the meeting.
7
Yep.
o'clock in the morning?
Well, 7:15, I heard now. I thought it was 7.
We need it, the road department?
Right, yep.
And they typically go over things with Harv. In the event that Harv can't be here, then they report for Harv. They are the liaison to that.
That's kind of rough. 7:15, driving from Henderson over here.
And that's everybody before every session.
Every
Yeah,
meeting.
so every other
Typically
Tuesday
every-
is when we've typically met.
So see, what are you going to do it, or am I doing it?
I have another commitment at 7 o'clock every.
Okay.
So that's the challenge.
Okay.
Do we need two of us there?
What's that? Well, not necessarily. Typically, Bill and Kurt had started it's
I
been
think
going
it's
long
been going
before
on for a
that,
long
but before I was on there, it was Bill and Kurt, and then Bill
Well,
and I met.
the reason I put up my name on there is because my territory's got a lot of roads,
Sure, yep.
so I probably should do it.
Okay.
I don't like the 7:15 thing.
Do the best you can.
All right.
You can't say too much because the guy from Henderson used to do it.
I know. I can't
Of
believe
course, I
it.
think he got up pretty early in the morning too. So, yeah. Okay.
So the roads department then is.
Stan.
Stan.
And Daniel, right?
Daniel, okay.
Emergency management, I will take that one. Seems like I'm in constant contact with Gary anyway.
I can back you up on that if you.
That's fine. Veterans, we got Woody. Safety and security, I don't know that we need, I don't want to speak for the county attorney's office. That is what was on there. I mean, do you,
We had Amanda in our office that was going, she's the one with the longest tenure. I don't think she would be offended if you removed her. But that is completely up to you. We do have a good idea generally on what's happening within the court system. But aside from that, the biggest benefit we would provide would be covered by somebody from the sheriff's office.
currently, we did, I mean, Amanda was going in the place of John.
Correct.
Okay, so because we didn't have her listed, or did you have her down? We didn't have her listed, so.
Right, she was,
Sitting in.
yes, Mr. Olson was unavailable at the time, and so Amanda was going.
Well, let's leave that one sit as it is with, striking that. Handbook committee, obviously Kurt is off of that one too. Cheryl, I think that would probably be a good one to have somebody from here serve on that. I can do that. That's probably just an annual meeting anyway, is it not?
Just once a year. If we have a handbook changes.
Okay. Okay, so I've been doing visitor promo. Yeah, I've been doing that.
Jackie's still on
That's,
Just gonna go for
yeah.
Okay.
Budget committee, going on myself. Yeah, I think that'll stay the same. First Net committee, which has never met as long as I've been a commissioner. So, Stan, did you say that you would do legislative also?
Well, I didn't think he'd stay with it, but I'm interested in that kind of thing.
Okay, well, let's just have the both of them on there then. Because Kurt, not serving, and Kurt, I think he just can't get it out of his system. It's only been a couple of weeks, and he's been used to doing that for a long time. Tech is where it is. Health Insurance Committee, that's what it is. And advisory. Do we see any others?
Did you skip the Chamber of Commerce?
I'm sorry. No, I just blew by it. That's us two on there. I've been.
So are you gonna be on there?
Well, you got me on there, but I've never been to a meeting.
No.
So you can leave me on there if you want to.
We will.
Okay.
There's a couple of them on here. I've never been to a meeting either.
Well, I've been to most all of them, but that one.
Okay. Everybody good? Thank you.
I got a printer,
Okay, so with that, entertain a motion to approve committee assignments.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, as I mentioned early on, I did want to do an executive session today. It's about courthouse security and for the interest of the public. So I would entertain a motion to go into executive session at 10:28. Please.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Do you need to state who specifically?
Commissioners and Chris Johnson will stay with us.
You want sheriff?
Sheriff is here. I see him back there. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
I would say to us.
Well, it is a long ways back there.
Walk your way.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Sykes,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Coe.
Yes.
Shall I leave?